Now, if you think matching the hatch is a relatively new concept in fly fishing, think about this. Dame Juliana Berners wrote a treatise on fishing with an angle in 1496. Now, ignore the funky old English writing for a minute. This was the first manual on fly fishing ever written, a full 150 years before Isaac Walton's Complete Angler. And Berners was a prioress at a nunnery in Herefordshire, which is basically the head nun. And she wasn't writing this, so people like us would be talking about her 500 years later. This was a practical guide. She saw trout keying on a specific insect and said, this is what you can use to catch them. And one of those insects was a Bibio Marci, also called a Hawthorn or a St. Mark's fly because it typically emerges in April and May out in Western Europe. So Dame Juliana Berners, she was pretty much the OG on matching the hatch. And this particular pattern, and there are several variations of it out there, it can be tied as a dry or a wet fly or a semi-dry, which is somewhere in between. In Ray Bergman's version from his 1938 trout, that's a pure wet fly. But the one I'm going to tie and fish next week out in Shenandoah is from Mike Dawes, the Flytier's manual. And this one is pretty much a semi-dry. And one last question before the tie. Do you think this 530-year-old pattern is still relevant to modern North American fishermen? Well, I think it is. Maybe we're not trying to match a Hawthorn hatch, but this fly looks like a lot of bugs that a lot of our fish still like to eat. So there it is, a Hawthorn. Now, doesn't that just look like a 500-year-old fly? I mean, mine does because it's a little bit shaggy, but still, it just has that feel of a really old pattern. The sizes for this are 12 to 14 down eye wet fly hook, and that is a 1 extra long, 1 extra strong, barbless. And black thread, this is 70 denier. I'm going to catch it in somewhere in the middle, bring it back here to the start of the bend. And Dawes' pattern calls for ostrich. If you're doing something like this with peacock, yeah, you might want to consider putting some kind of wire or at least a thread rib. But ostrich Herl is fairly strong, a lot stronger than peacock. So I'm going to catch in 2 just so I get a little bit of bulk quicker. And I'm going to wrap it up to about 2/3 for the body here. Okay, I think that's enough of a body. Let's go ahead and catch this off with 2 or 3 fairly tight wraps. Now for this wing, which is kind of a standard wet fly, you could use something like duck, and it would certainly be a little easier to work with and a little more durable, but I'm going to keep it fairly original, and what Dawes called for was a starling. So took a left feather and a right wing feather and cut off 1 slip from each. Now I've got them back to back, and I'm just going to lay them right on top and then try to do a little sort of a pinch wrap. Do the loose one up the top and then kind of bring it up tight from the back here. And hopefully they won't curl all up on you like that. But you know, if they do, really don't worry about it. Even if they come unmarried on you, because after 5 minutes of fishing this thing, these wings are going to be fairly shredded and, you know, definitely unmarried. Even if you haven't caught a fish on it, they're just not going to be that durable. So let's go ahead and trim this excess up front. All right, I'm going to spend a few wraps just trying to smooth this out before I catch on my hackle up here. And the hackle calls for black cock, so just rooster. So really a dry fly hackle, but we're going to tie it on pretty sparse and we're going to sweep it back. So I'm going to catch this in just right here, a little bit in front of that wing. Get that stem caught in with several wraps going forward. Got this stub to contend with. Try to cut that as short as we can get it. And now just 2 or 3 wraps right here. And it's going to look like a dry fly at first. They're going to stick out, but we're going to sweep them back, and we'll do that when we wrap our head. So that's 2 wraps. Let's try 3. Okay, now snip this excess here. And just grab everything and pull all these back and ramp your head back up. And hopefully you will lay these back, kind of sweep them back. Some of them are going to be sticking out. You won't be able to avoid that, but it's not so heavily hackled that this thing won't effectively fish as a wet fly when you want it to. So most of those are swept back. A few of them are sticking out, so I think we're going to be fine. Maybe a few more wraps here to just build a little bit bigger of a head. It's a wet fly for the most part, so don't be afraid to put a nice big head on it. And now we can whip finish and see if we have any cleanup. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm just going to go ahead and put my drop of head cement on there and call this thing done. So there you go, the classic 530-year-old Hawthorn. So I appreciate you watching, everybody. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.